Another day, another vlog. Firing up the M3 today. Oh, I love this sound. She's just ready to go, man. Like, no warm-up needed, man. She's just ready to go, purring straight from the start. Had a little bit of snow last night. It's a little bit of an interesting take weather because, you know, you were teasing us yesterday with a little bit of spring in the air. A little bit of spring in the air. My buddy just drove by. He's an absolute stud, my neighbor. Good buddy of mine. Little drift action out of the driveway. These all seasons. It's the first time we've gotten some inclement weather with the all seasons. Let's see how they end up doing. I will tell you, first impression is they're a little bit more slick than I was hoping. I mean, they're really slick, actually. Holy crap. I mean, I barely gave that any gas whatsoever, and there's like barely any snow, and I was just fishtailing right there. BMW said that these were the best kind of bang for your buck. They were out of the winter tires, but they said that these were the best bang for your buck because you can still drive them kind of all year round, but I'm still gonna put summers on her when when it warms up. Probably end of April, May, I'll switch into the summer tires, and I'll probably track the car with those on. So a lot more car content coming up. That's something that I'm pretty passionate about. And honestly, I'm just getting into motorsport. I had no idea really how, oh my gosh, probably getting a migraine watching this if you're watching this at all. But that's something I actually didn't know much about, was motorsport. I didn't grow up. My dad wasn't really into cars. I was more of a, your typical basketball, baseball, football guy. And, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I saw the Drive to Survive series on Netflix. Had no clue what F1 was. I mean, I thought that all racing was the same thing, going around in circles like NASCAR. And I'm like, that's just freaking stupid. No one wants to see a bunch of cars just go around in a circle, right? Which, hey, if you're into NASCAR, that's your thing, great. I mean, everyone's got to have their thing. I'm way passionate about golf, and people think golf is stupid. People think golf is boring, but I get it. So, yeah, but anyways, I watched this Drive to Survive series on Netflix about F1, and I just totally sparked a love for motorsport. And I was like, hey, I want to start driving. I want to start racing. I want to start, getting into it. So I've been doing a bunch of research, and a buddy of mine is way into it. And, he kind of sold me on the M3. I'm really glad that I got this car because for the bang for the buck, what you get regarding performance and steering and suspension and handling and, the acceleration, the performance of the all-around car, I think it's top notch. If you guys have another car that you think would be a better buy for the track for 100 to 120 grand, let me know what that is in the comments below. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to start getting into it. I'm going to probably hire a professional racing coach because I've never been to a track. I have no clue what I'm doing. I want to get into drifting and stuff too, but I have no clue what I'm doing. So the little drifts I've done in this car have scared the absolute crap out of me. Going sideways on a road, it's scary, man. But I want to get into it. I want to get better at it. And I believe that that's important, right? Having passions and hobbies that you can continue to develop and build and grow. I think that's really important. That's actually why I love golf so much, because I feel like as I get older, the older I get, the more I want to play, because it's the only real sport you can still be competitive in. You can still improve on and play a lot in. I grew up playing baseball, grew up playing, a lot of basketball and stuff. And when was the last time I shot a basketball? When was the last time I threw a baseball? And you can play in softball leagues and men's, basketball leagues and stuff like that. But it just seems to be you're slowing down. It's harder on your body. It's less enjoyable. And so that's why I think golf is probably the best sport all around. Totally just ran a red light. Oh, gotta send it. Getting to the office in the morning sometimes is a little bit of a challenge where I live. I mean, we've got all this construction going on, high density housing right here. And sometimes you gotta be on the offensive when it relates to your commute, to say the least. So let's go over the day real quick. I mean, we've got day 2 of the Biz Accelerator, following up from last night, I actually got 22 consults out of, I think there were about 40 buying units. So it's really positive. Means that, you know, of the 40 buying units there, the decision makers of the business owners, we've got 22. So over 50% of them have actually booked and scheduled that 20-minute slot, that 20-minute appointment with me, which is pretty good. I mean, that's about what we've been seeing historically. So if all things go well today and tomorrow, we should probably, like I say, close about 20% of those into new clients. I'll give you guys a breakdown of what that means in terms of new business and things like that for us. Got a couple of sales calls today that are, you know, some people that I've been prospecting over the last couple of months. Excited to, you know, see what those guys, how those calls go. One of them should be a really hot potential client. I think that we'll be able to close them. And then the rest of the day, I'm just doing consults for the Business Accelerator. So I'm doing a lot of those 20-minute appointments today and tomorrow. A couple of them will trickle into Thursday and Friday. What else we got today? We've pushed our cash flow meetings that we normally do on Tuesdays to Wednesdays, but then because we're going to be doing the Business Accelerator consults Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll probably do that on Thursday. So we can kind of go over our pro formas and our projections, our modeling, our cash flow. That's something that I'm very passionate about, and you actually will probably hear me talk about that a lot, is knowing what you're expecting, and we go over this cash flow on a weekly basis. And we're very fortunate, my business partner and I, that we've got some pretty incredible mentors that have shown us how to do this and actually go through this with us on a week-to-week basis, because it's a discipline that I think very few businesses do, of going over your cash flow and projecting your cash flow and your marketing spend and, you know, your revenue every single week. And you're seeing how that plays out over a, you know, month, 2 month, 3 month, and 6 month to 12 month period. So like if we want to go and try to reverse engineer, you know, hey, there's a goal or a revenue goal or an income goal that we have in the business, how are we going to get there? How much money should we be spending on our ads? How, you know, what do we need to be doing? How do we need to ramp our spend to be able to actually hit those goals? It starts to make your business more predictable. And that's something that I've really been grateful for over the last few years, that these mentors really sat us down and shown us how to do this, because, you know, I'm not really a big numbers guy. I'm not really into all the minutia of the data. I kind of am just more into, hey, I wanna get creative. I'm a very creative person. I love the kind of the emotional side of marketing, which is understanding your prospects and being creative and finding and understanding new ways to tap into that target audience and finding the right offer and product to put in front of your prospects. That's like what gets me out of bed, and that's what I really, really love. And to have, you know, an accountant and you know, discipline of sitting down every single week and projecting your cash flow and understanding your modeling and projections and where you're at, it's been really, really helpful for us. So we're gonna be probably doing that later this week. We would normally do that on Tuesday, but we've pushed it back. Some other things that we're gonna be working on today, you know, obviously I didn't have a ton of time yesterday to look into the YouTube automation stuff like I wanted to. I'll probably record and show you kind of what I'm thinking about doing. There was a course that I bought a while back from a girl named Sunny Leonard Doozy, I believe is her name. I mean, I'm talking a couple of years ago. So I want to go through that program again. And that's a great thing about programs. So let's talk about this for a second, because a lot of you that might be watching this or are interested in starting your own business, or maybe are running your own business, you're thinking about, man, how do I get to that next level? I have always been a big believer in courses, education, masterminds, spending money on people that can just give me a shortcut, because you can either smash your head against a brick wall and try to figure it out yourself, or you can try to just pay to get there faster. And I believe in that. I believe that there's a lot of resources out there today that can just really shorten that learning curve. So everything that my partner and I have done, I mean, really where we're at today with our agency, with knowing how to run ads, knowing how to run marketing, yeah, it's been a lot of us being in the weeds and figuring it out and smashing our head against that wall. Of course, it always is. It's business. It's what you got to do. But I also think that it's in large part because we've had really great mentors. We've bought in a lot of really awesome programs. We continue to invest in our education. We join masterminds, and we want to go find the people that are currently where we're at and just try to duplicate what they're doing as much as possible. So I talk about something called R&D, right? Which is typically stands for research and development. No, but I think that R&D probably stands to be more accurately described as rip off and duplicate. And I've actually had a lot of people press me on that. I gotta get my sunglasses on here. It's bright. 1 second. I don't want that like line of shade necessarily right through the face, through my face. Let's go with that. There we go. That's better. So, a lot of people have kind of pushed back on that, saying, hey, if you're ripping people off, like, what are you doing creatively, and what are you actually doing to, make sure that you're not plagiarizing or stealing people's ideas? That's not what it is at all. What I mean by rip off and duplicate is see what other people are doing, learn from them. It could be a completely different industry, different product, different business model entirely, and duplicate that for your business. Duplicate that for what you're doing. And if it is the same industry, the same business, we'll customize it for your offer, customize it for what you're doing with your product. It doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel every time, which is honestly one of the biggest mistakes that I think I made when I started getting into business. And when we first started our agency in 2018, that ultimately led to our failure of we had to split up, and then we came back and joined forces together, was we felt like we had to create something new. We felt like we had to do something that had never been done before. And that might have just been immaturity. It might have been, ego. It might have been pride, maybe a combination of all of those three. But that was ultimately the dumbest thing that I could have ever thought, because very, very few people have done something that has never been done before. And for me to create impact, for me to be, a good employer, for me to build a successful business, I can just learn from what other people have done, and I can apply that to my business. And honestly, I can do it at a very high level and do it really well. So anyways, kind of some food for thought there, something to think about. But going back to the YouTube automation program, and kind of what I want to do with this own channel is I'm going to go back through that YouTube program that I bought. I can't remember. I think it's called YouTube for Bosses. Not sure. But I'm going to go back through that and go back and rewatch it. And that's another thing that I do with a lot of programs and courses is I'll go back through and I'll rewatch different parts of the program. I'll kind of skim through very quickly, find the parts that I think are the most valuable. I'll highlight that. I'll annotate that so I know where to go back and find it. So I'll go back through my notes and, go back and watch the pieces of the program that are like the most valuable. So that's another thing that I think is a skill that I'm trying to develop and improve on is how can I download information very, very quickly? And how can I try to then regurgitate that information and be able to call upon that information quickly? Because I feel like I'm bombarded with things, bombarded with facts, bombarded with stats, bombarded with all these AI tools and marketing tactics all of the time. And honestly, it can feel overwhelming. It feels like you're drinking from the fire hose 24/7, but you kind of have to be able to move quickly and also determine and discern what pieces of that information and new tools and new breakthroughs are the most relevant, number one, and the most, I'd say, valuable for what you're accomplishing, because something might be really, really cool. You might learn about something that's awesome, but it might not be very applicable to what you're doing in your business. And if that's the case, then great, that could be a hobby for you. But what is going to be the most, important revenue driving activity that I can try to focus on? And how can I download information and learn about that as fast as possible, so that I can take action and start seeing results? So, that's really something that I'm really thinking about and trying to master in my life. And I think it's a skill that you can, of course, continue to work on forever. It's like golf. It's like golf that you're never going to be a perfect golfer. There's no such thing as a perfect round of golf. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect business. You're going to continue to learn these skills and get better at it over and over again and over time. So that's cool. Yeah, check out these mountains though. I think that's a pretty view on my way to the office. I love when the snow just kind of hits the mountains and you got those clouds right there that are kind of covering the tops. I love where I live. I think it's beautiful. I don't really love the cold weather, but I mean, you have the best summers. We don't really have bugs here. So, I mean, it's home. Some other things that we're talking about and wanting to do right now in our business is we want to finish our office. So our office is like 90% of the way there. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but like, for example, when my wife and I, we built our house and moved into our house, like you get all of the essentials done first and you get like 90% of the way there. So we finished like the main floor and like the bedroom, but there's still like 10% of the house that's not done. We need to, finish like the upstairs guest bedroom and some of the decor and furniture. We could obviously make some improvements to the basement. There's different things that we could do. But like, same thing goes with our office. When we were building out this space here, where our office is currently at, like we went crazy and, built out my office and made my office really cool. And then we, built an awesome wall. We put a neon sign in there, got a bunch of decor, paintings, etc. But there's like still just 10% that needs to be done. So we need to buy a coffee table today. We need to buy maybe a little bit more artwork, some shelves and credenzas. So that's something that I've just been putting off for months now, because it's just like, I don't want to go look at furniture because I feel like I go down a black hole and it's just like, I never know what's going to be the best thing in furniture. So today, we're finally going to just get it all done, buy everything that we need to buy, and get it shipped here, and we're going to put it together and be done with it, because I'm just sick of having our office like 90% of the way done. And I think it's going to look really great, because I'm a big believer in your environment affects how you perform. Your environment affects how you, work, and it affects your creativity. And I think that, what is that? I took an interior design class in college. I flunked it. I was a horrible student in college. That's another topic of discussion. But I think there's a word that is like perfectly describes that. That's like a study of how your environment affects your productivity and affects your feelings and your creativity. And anyways, I just think that if we can finally get our office done, it's just going to kind of elevate us to the next level, help us be a little bit more productive. And it's going to be great. So that's something else I got to do today. What else is kind of a big action item? Just sales calls, meetings. What else? Guys getting pulled over. I've been there and done that. Only reason I'm laughing, listen, I'm not laughing because I'm a tool like that. Maybe I am a little bit. But I had, between the ages of 16 and 18, I had been in 4 car accidents. And I got, what was that, probably 6 or 7 tickets. So my parents, you can imagine, were just out of their minds. They were beside themselves, because they're like, our high school student isn't going to be able to drive his car. He's going to get his license taken away. Luckily, it wasn't that bad. But then I ended up serving a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. Mentally, physically, spiritually. I left a boy, I came back a man. That's another topic of discussion. But it was also the best thing that ever happened to me for my driving record, because I literally didn't drive a car for 2 years. So I came back home and I was 21. And of course, I mean, at that point in time, you know, I'm in college, and so I was able to kind of like get a fresh slate. But no, I picked up right where I left off, and between the ages of 21 and probably 24, I actually got another 10 tickets, got my license suspended. So, man, you know, it sucked having your license suspended, because you're like every day playing, you know, Russian roulette. It's like, yo, I got to keep driving. I got to go do things. I got to go to school. I got to do this. I got to do that. But it's like, if I get pulled over right now, this is going to be really bad. And I think it was like a 3 or 4 month period. I had to go back through and do all this driving school stuff. It sucked. But since then, from 24 to 30, I've only gotten 1 ticket, and it was a total Bush League ticket. And so that, piled with the fact that my wife has a perfect record, our insurance hasn't been too bad. But anyways, I laugh because that was me, literally 18 through 24, getting pulled over every single time. And it was a lot of bad luck. But listen, you kind of make your own luck a lot in life. And I was an idiot. I was doing a lot of stupid stuff. So anyways, that's the saga of how I got my license suspended. I'm here at the office. So yeah, I'm going to go, and I'm going to, first things first, kind of morning formula, respond to some emails, going to plan my day, and then I'm going to have a couple of those calls, a couple of those appointments and meetings that I talked about. And then, yeah, we're going to hopefully film some really great content with these consults that I'm doing today. Should be awesome. Let's get it. Yo, what's up, guys? Checking in here today. So far, it's been a pretty productive morning. Been planning my day and kind of getting all of my just minutia and tasks done so I can kind of focus on more flow state creative projects here before I have all of these consults. Thought that now would be as good of time as any to kind of do a tour of my desk setup in my office setup, so you guys can kind of see how I like to structure and how I like to get different things done. So here's the desk setup, and you'll see that I've got my MacBook Pro. And this thing right here is actually pretty sweet. I love this because I like to keep things really organized. Having extra cables, unnecessary cords around really drives me nuts. Now, this is a little bit more cluttered than normal. You know, I like to kind of keep things tight, but it is what it is. It's kind of been a crazy week. But this is actually called the Hexcal Studio. And what I like about this is I've got a single 4K display in the back of this. I got my 2 monitors that go into it, plug into it, and also the power for the camera and the mic goes into that power outlet here and then connects there. And I've also got the light set up here for when I record. So, I mean, there's lots of cables still out, but compared to what it was, this is still a much better setup. And then I've just got some kind of decor back here, things that are meaningful to me. I might go through and kind of explain what all these different things mean and why I bought them. Everything in here is meaningful, believe it or not. I have a stack of cash. Those are just dollar bills. No, they're not for what you probably think they are. I actually use those dollar bills in my presentations a lot of times. I have a couple games that I play to kind of explain what the game of marketing is and how we like to think about marketing. Also, big guitar guy, big music guy. Haven't been able to play these as much as I kind of want to, but I actually will play these through this positive grid. This acts as a amplifier, studio practice amp for my guitars, as well as a Bluetooth speaker, which is fantastic. So the audio quality on this is really superb. And then also when the employees go away, I mean, I have a little half stack here, Marshall MG100 HDFX, and this thing absolutely screams. That's pretty cool. But, you know, I like the dual monitor setup here. Thought about going with 3 monitors, but I felt like it was just a little bit overkill, and I kind of like how I can put the camera right in the middle. So I kind of have different angles. I can record my calls, record different conversations that we have, which is really cool. And then this pad right here, I can't remember what this is called. I think it's a Journey pad, but it's like a mouse pad, kind of charging pad, charging station all in one. So I can put my phone there and charge, my AirPod Pros there and charge, and it just kind of keeps things clean. You know, being on this glass is kind of irritating. I think having this typing here just makes it a lot more comfortable. And then no office is complete without scissors and a knife. You know, every time we get Amazon packages, you got to have a knife to open things with. So this is an absolute must for the office. And then, yeah, I mean, the rest in here, just books. Got a little lounge area here that I like to sit around in. Do a lot of consults here. Just, throw stuff up on the TV. Can share screens, and then obviously whiteboard. We whiteboard a lot of different stuff here. This is really important for partner meetings, as well as to just kind of have a place to write down when you're meeting with potential clients. Really cool. And then in these shelves we got like snacks, a bunch of different stuff that it's just kind of random. But yeah, I mean that's the office setup. That's where the magic happens. Of course, we got Toothless, the M3 out to the side. That's where I park every day. And oh yeah, I forgot one thing. This is just kind of cool. This is called a tidbit, and you can right now I've got a Pokemon app. It's just going through and swiping through a bunch of different Pokemons. But you can put anything on here. I mean, we've put our Shopify sales on there, weather, stocks, sport updates. It's kind of fun. Adds to the decor a little bit, changes things up. So yeah, there we have it. So of course, I mean, the office is a work in progress. It's a little bit messy right now, but yeah, I mean, I'm always thinking of different things to put here, different ways to display, different things and ways to work. Right now, I'm really liking this setup, but I am thinking of adding maybe here in this corner by this window, you can get like stand-up desk attachments that actually will attach to glass. So I think I might kind of set up a little setup around here where throughout the day, as I'm sitting down a lot, if I want to stand up and get some work done, I can just kind of take my MacBook, go to the window, and stand up for a little bit. So that's one of the things I think I might add to the desk to the office setup. But for now, that's the space. All right, guys, just leaving the office, heading home. Going to I got some thoughts that I wanted to kind of break down about the day. So, looking at my nose right there, got some boogies. Oh, I could probably use a little bit of a nose trim, to be honest with you. It's probably not a bad idea. As I'm getting older, my nose hairs, my ear hairs are getting a little bit crazy and unruly. Nothing worse than an old guy that doesn't understand the importance of trimming his nose hairs and his ear hairs. See, like an old guy with like the ear hair coming out, dude. Ugh, it's major ick. But I digress. Those weren't actually any of the thoughts that I wanted to share on my drive home. So I actually had a lady that I consulted with and talked to today. Really nice lady, total sweetheart. She has like a boutique store in a small town, and she also has a Shopify site. She sells, children's clothes. It's kind of like a boutique for moms. And, selling kids clothes from the age of like 5 to, 12 years old. So really nice lady. She's currently doing like $150,000 in revenue. They did $200,000 in revenue in 2022. 2023, they saw a decline. They did about 150. And this year they're declining a little bit more. So my first question to her is I said, hey, listen, I want to know what the breakdown is from the amount of revenue you're doing in your boutique versus the amount of money you're doing on your Shopify site. And she said, well, our Shopify site's really, really low. We do about $2,500 a month on Shopify. And I said, so if you're coming to me wanting to know how to grow your business, what you can do to immediately grow and build and scale your business, the first thing that needs to take place is you need to start focusing more on Shopify and direct-to-consumer acquisition than you are on your boutique. Because your boutique, right, you have a small population. You're in kind of a small town of 10,000, 20,000 people. There's only so much you can do. There's only so far you can take a boutique in that area. There's only so many people that would buy from you, right? And you might have the greatest products on the planet. You might be the best marketer in your local area that exists in the world. But if you're not getting outside of that, focusing on that direct to customer acquisition online with digital marketing, I mean, I'm sorry, there's no way for your business to scale. There just isn't. So I feel like I did a good job of driving that point home. She's currently spending $500 a month on Google, and her Google ads across the board are getting about a $5 return on ad spend. Now, this is where the conversation started to kind of, I think, turn south a little bit. And why I wanted to bring this up, because I've talked to multiple business owners like this person that have had a hard time grasping the importance of customer acquisition cost and focusing less on a return on ad spend. Return on ad spend is a very good metric. It's a KPI that you must be tracking, but it's not as important as ultimately profit. Number one, profit. How much money are you putting in your pocket at the end of the day that you're going to be taxed on? And your customer acquisition cost and scaling your business. So I said, hey, how much are you currently spending on your Google ads? It's about $500 a month. And I said, why aren't you spending more? Tell me about those Google ads. She proceeded to say that, they're once again generating about $2,500 in sales on her on her Shopify site, spending about $500 on Google, but that she hasn't been able to scale her ads because every time she tries to scale her ads, her ROAS drops, her ROAS dips, and she wants to keep it at a 5. She wants to keep her ROAS at a 5. So here are kind of the numbers that she told me as I was asking questions about her business. She was saying that her average order value is $47, and her COGS on her average order value are about $20. So she has a $27 window of margin where if she can acquire a customer for free, she said she makes $27 of margin. But that also means that she has $27 to play around with to acquire a customer. And I also asked her, by the way, I said, what is your average lifetime value over a 12-month period? Meaning, over a 12-month period, what is the average revenue you will collect from a customer? And she had actually thought through this metric before and was able to tell me that the average returning customer rate over a 12-month period is about 48%. So let's just round it up to 50%. And then you got to think about the COGS on that. Her average COGS are, like I say, about 60% profitable, so 40%. So it's around $16 is what she's going to make in additional profit for her lifetime value over a 12-month period. So essentially, if she spends $27 to acquire a customer one time, and that breaks even with her margin that she has to play with, she'll generate an additional $23.75 of revenue and about $16 of profit. Now listen, I know I'm talking about a lot of weird numbers here. It's kind of confusing, but the moral of the story is that ROAS is less important to the money that you make than customer acquisition cost. Because if you're so focused on ROAS and you're not able to actually scale your ad spend, what you're directly doing is negatively impacting your bottom line, negatively impacting the profit that you take home. If she does a 5 ROAS but only is able to spend $500 a month, well, at this example, she can be incredibly profitable over a 12-month period, scaling her ad spend at a 2.02, 2.5. If she does a 2.5, ROAS, but she's able to spend $2,700 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and essentially find a way to break even on a first customer acquisition, then she's going to be making $16 or so in profit over a 12-month period for those individuals. And not just that, but if you break even on your first customer acquisition, all of that marketing that you're putting out into the marketplace that isn't generating a return for you or generating revenue is still worth something. There's a lot of intangibles there that you can't factor in. You're building pipe, you're building touch points with your prospects, and ultimately those prospects can be nurtured over time down your funnel through retargeting campaigns, joining an email list, simply seeing your brand. Those people will turn into customers over time. So there's something to be said about understanding and getting less afraid of ad spend and more worried about your customer acquisition cost and how that's going to play into your total revenue collected at the end of the day and your total take-home profit. Something really interesting. And you know what? Maybe I'll make another video about this where I more fully and more clearly lay out the numbers, because as I'm driving home, trying to drive my car on the freeway, I've got my lights on in my car, and I'm trying to remember all the numbers that we whiteboarded out. Clearly, there's going to be some disconnect here, and maybe it's a little confusing. But bottom line, if you're generating a ton of ROAS right now, good for you. But you might be spending way too little on your campaigns. And, if you could spend double, triple, 5x, 6x, 7x, 10x more on your ads, and that can directly benefit your bottom line. That's what you'd be focused on. So long-winded way to say ROAS is important, but it's less important than profit, number one, and it's less important than understanding your customer acquisition cost and your lifetime value of a customer. Another hot take. A lot of time what ROAS does is a high ROAS makes the business owner and the business less creative. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're generating a high ROAS and generating so much profit on the front end that you don't have to worry about getting creative and increasing your lifetime value of a customer, all you're going to do is worry about selling more people on the front end of your business. But the biggest way to impact your business long-term and make it more scalable is to directly and dramatically increase that lifetime value of a customer. I talked about this maybe today, this morning or yesterday as well, that things are getting so expensive to acquire a customer that the best way to directly impact your bottom line is to generate more lifetime value. So once again, if you're generating so much in ROAS that you're not necessarily worried about making more money and recouping more money over your prospects, lifespan with you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months after doing business initially, then I think that's a major disservice to your business. So anyways, kind of a lot of thoughts here, kind of brain dumping all over, but it is what it is. But anyways, I'm passing the gas station again. There she is. Greatest gas station of all time, the Holiday on my way home. Love that gas station. Can't wait to show you guys the gloves that they add at the pump so that you have to touch the pump. Because is there anything more disgusting than touching things in public that other people have touched and manhandled and have never been cleaned? Like, I don't think so. Another thing here is check out that silhouette. That's one of the things I like when I'm driving home. That mountain is just like black and dark, and you can kind of see the clouds and the sunset behind it. Just so freaking beautiful, man. I think my favorite time of the day is sunrise and sunset, like golden hour, that hour before sunset, just so freaking beautiful. And sunrise, I don't really see it a whole lot. I'm going to try to, make more of a concerted effort to, when I wake up in the morning, go out and get my eyes in the sun. Andrew Huberman talks a lot about the importance of the chemicals reacting to your eyes. Essentially what happens when your eyes see the sun, it triggers a hormone in your body to wake up. And people that get 5, 10, 15 minutes of real sunlight, not behind a window, not behind a tinted, car window, but they're actually outside in the real sun, it's going to make you feel a lot more energized. So that's great, because I'm also trying to limit my caffeine intake. I mean, I was like really bad for a while. I was getting like 400, 500 mgs of caffeine a day, and it was great when I was drinking caffeine. It was horrible when I actually got off of the caffeine. And, religiously I do fasts once a month where you're not supposed to drink any fluids or eat any food for 24 hours. And I remember I had like the world's worst migraine in that 24-hour window, and it was just because I went like 500 mg for solid month, 2 months, and then I went 0, and I had like the worst migraine. So anyways, that's something I'm going to be trying to do as well. I would be interested to know if any of you guys watching this have had a positive experience with getting direct exposure to sunlight in the morning. I've never really done it before, and it seems like a little bit more of a reasonable way to wake up and build a good habit than, like, I don't know, jumping into a freezing tub of water. Like, I don't know, guys. I can't get on this whole cold plunge thing. I'm sure it's amazing. I'm sure it's great, but it's just absolute torture. Maybe I don't have strong enough will. Maybe I'm just a wuss. Maybe I'm just not strong-willed enough to, I don't know, plunge myself into a freezing vat of water at 5 a.m. when it's dark and cold outside. But I think I, need to build positive habits, build building blocks. So I'm going to start with, trying to get out in the sun for 5 to 10 minutes a day. So here we are, guys. I just rolled in. Pumped for tomorrow. We're going to wrap up day 3 of the Business Accelerator. Hopefully have some good thoughts, hot takes for you tomorrow, some maybe behind the scenes of some calls, maybe some presentation that I do tomorrow. I can upload to that. And then also, at the end of this week, we got some other fun things planned. I'm thinking of doing a lot more content, doing a lot more deep dive onto some campaigns that we're running and setting up Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this, this is day 2 of the year vlog challenge. I'm doing a vlog Monday through Friday, every day for a year. Anyways, take care, guys.